Should you upgrade from the iPhone 13 or 13 Pro to the new iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max? Yes, 100% absolutely I think so. You're going to love it. I think you'll be really happy if you do. Stick around and I'll tell you why. So I've been using the 15 Pro Max for about a week now. I didn't order on pre-order date. I was kind of on the fence about whether I wanted to get it or not originally. But I think I've been using it for long enough now that I can give you a pretty qualified opinion on how I like it. Real quick before we get started, in keeping with tradition, today's coffee is from Forecast Coffee Company. That's north of Seattle in Bellingham, Washington. Makes a pretty good coffee. Made a hot latte here because it's cold outside. But that's neither here nor there. You're here to learn about the iPhone 13 Pro versus the iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max. I got the blue titanium. I really like this color. It was a toss-up between this and the black. Usually get black phones, or the graphite, whatever this is called on the 13. Plus this is similar to the midnight color on my MacBook Air that I use all the time. Not exactly a match, but similar. They're both nice colors. I don't think you can go wrong with any of these. Are people complaining about how the colors are too muted this year? I mean, whatever. You're going to put a case on it anyway. You can probably guess from the size here, I got the Pro Max, and I'll tell you what, I was not going to upgrade phones originally. I was thinking, 13 Pro, it's still a really nice phone, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, but the more I thought about it, the more FOMO crept in, and then I started looking at the specs, after things started to get tested in the real world and more specs were unveiled, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try it. And on top of that, I said, I'm going to try the Pro Max. I've been on the fence for years in jumping up to the bigger size phone. I thought, well, it's not going to be comfortable, won't fit in my hand, but I'm glad I did. It's not that much bigger. If you haven't tried it, I don't know how you haven't by this point in time, but if you haven't tried it, go try it in the store. That'll give you some idea. It's really not that much wider, unless you get a real bulky case, I guess. It's not going to be a big deal. I think you'll get used to it. And in fact, the 13 Pro, even while I still think it's kind of the perfect size for a mobile device that you throw in your pocket, you take with you every place, it always felt a little bit cramped to me, to the point where after a while I would switch it to using it two-handedly anyway, which is something that I think you do more naturally with the Pro Max size. Not to say that you can't use it one-handed, and your mileage will vary, of course, but the only thing difficult for me is reaching over to this extreme bottom left corner here, but I don't do that very often, so not really a big deal. I can get down there without any issue, a little bit more maneuvering. But yeah, overall, I'm super happy with the extra screen real estate here. The phone feels pretty perfect now. Now when I go back to, I knew this would happen, if I go back to the 13 Pro, or the regular size, then it feels a little bit small. I'm sure I'd get used to it again if I had to. So yeah, if you go and try this Pro Max in the store, that'll give you some idea of the size, but I think you really need to spend a few days with it to get the feel for it, to know if you like it. And now, to be honest, I don't know why I was so afraid of giving it a try earlier. Didn't want to spend the extra couple $100 for it, to be honest, but over the couple years or 3 years that you keep the phone, even if you keep it for a year, then it's probably not a big deal. If you're spending that much money already on a device like this, then probably going to be okay. And it's really not that much more in the grand scheme of things to get what you want and to make the phone easier to use. If you're like me, use it every day, day in, day out, and it's just nice to have a little bit more extra room to read things. And especially if you're a content creator or a content consumer, you love watching YouTube videos or making YouTube videos or posting photos, looking at photos. Everything just looks so much nicer on this screen. Now, one more thing about the size on the Pro Max, it's a lot nicer to type on the keyboard on screen. I always had the problem on the 13 Pro where I was hitting the period instead of the spacebar when I was typing. That was kind of annoying for me, so going to the Pro Max size, I haven't had that problem. Typing is really nice, so if you're having that problem on the smaller phones, then definitely give this a try. I think what I'd say is that if you're using your phone all the time, then you probably want to go for the bigger screen. The 15 Pro Max, for me anyway, is a lot more comfortable to use and type on because my hands just have more space to kind of relax. They're not as cramped. So I really like that about the Pro Max, or the Plus for that matter. And I don't use that reachability, I think that's what it's called, where it kind of shifts the screen down for you. I don't have a reason for that because accessing the top is no problem. It's just really that bottom left corner that's kind of a stretch for me. It's kind of weird. I have found myself using my pinky at the bottom of the case a little bit more awkward than holding the 13 Pro, where on the 13 Pro, kind of just sits on the pinky, but on the 15 Pro Max, I mean, it can sit there, but often it's kind of like at this weird angle. So I'm trying to break that habit. I think it's just a bad habit. Every time I notice myself doing that, then I just force myself to hold it properly, and that fixes the problem. Okay, but enough of that. Let's go on and talk about the differences between the 13 Pro and the 15 Pro or Pro Max. The titanium frame is nice. I appreciate it. I like good materials. That said, I never really had a problem with the frame on the 13. It always felt good. So design-wise, the 13 Pro is still a really nice phone. It was my favorite phone until I got the 15, so there's that. Now, as far as weight between these goes, I can't really tell a difference. They seem to be almost the same. Without looking the specs up, it seems like the 15 Pro Max might actually be lighter than the 13 Pro. I don't think it is, but it kind of feels that way. I'm pretty sure it's not, because I really never noticed the weight on the 13 Pro, especially with my kind of lightweight silicone case on. But with the case I have now with the kickstand on the 15 Pro Max, I definitely feel the weight, but it's not a problem. I just got used to it. I mean, if you're counting grams going ultralight backpacking or something, then that might be a consideration for you, but realistically, I don't think it's anything to worry about. The 15, as you might guess, it feels really premium, feels really good in the hand. Not that the 13 Pro didn't, it's just when I go back and look at it now, it feels dated due to the notch at the top, whereas the Island is a fantastic addition. I kind of thought it was a bit gimmicky when it first came out last year on the 14, but since I've been using it, and some of the apps have started to support it, it's actually a really nice feature. It kind of keeps everything organized up at the top. Kind of like reminds me of the touch bar on the laptops. It went away. Some people hated it, some people loved it. I actually enjoyed it. So I hope they don't do the same thing and get rid of it someday. I'm sure they will. They'll replace it with something else, who knows what. But for now, it's a really nice feature, and it's one reason that I'm liking the 15 over the 13. Of course, if you're coming from the 14, then, well, the upgrade to the 15 is going to be a marginal upgrade for you. And there are videos talking about this ad nauseum, so I'm not really going to go over that. Personally, if I had a 14, I don't think I'd upgrade to a 15. I don't see a reason to. I'm not one of those people that upgrades phones every year. I don't see a reason to. Every 2 years is typically my upgrade cycle. But the phones are getting so good now that I could probably wait even longer. But on the other hand, as someone who likes to take photos and videos a lot, well, I really like having this upgraded camera system. So I can't really speak to the 3x camera on the Pro since I haven't used it. But I can tell you that the camera quality on the 5x zoom camera here, telephoto camera, is vastly improved over the 3x on the 13 Pro. Actually, I was never happy with the image quality out of the telephoto on the 13 Pro. I would use it, but I was kind of reluctant to. But the images coming out of this 5x with the prism system here, these are really good. Like, they're images I could post. I could probably even print them at low enough size and be happy with them. Excellent job on the 5x. And personally, I think that the 5x is a much more useful zoom range than the 3x. And especially now that we have the 2x kind of cropped zoom. I'm not going to get into that debate of digital versus optical. It's a similar principle to the crop mode on a full frame camera, where you can go between full frame and APS-C mode. Similar concept there. But I think that's a pretty personal decision based on what you're shooting most often, and your mileage may vary. We've got improved sensor stabilization, which is always nice. In fact, I think real world I have noticed that it's a little bit less shaky, so that's always good. Action mode, which I have not tried out yet, but I'm excited to try it out the next time I go traveling and I'm walking around. That, of course, was on the 14 models. It was not on the 13, so if you're coming from the 13, then that'll be a nice addition. What is new on the 15 Pro here is log video recording. So if you like to edit and log, then you have that option. You have an improved front camera, so you get a little bit wider aperture, so you let more light in, so better low light performance, and a little bit better bokeh technically on your face, but who's looking? You have enhanced portrait functionality, which I haven't tried yet. Okay, now USB-C, of course, is one of the main features of the 15 models, and plugging a USB-C cable into here still feels pretty strange, not gonna lie. I don't really care, to be honest. I mean, it's nice to start to consolidate on cables, but the truth is I still have so many devices that use the lightning cable, like the Magic Keyboard, Magic Trackpad, AirPods Pro 2, so it's going to be a while before I can get rid of lightning. But it will be nice to have, increased data transfer speed. And eventually, I think I'll experiment with recording to an external hard drive. At some point, I'll give that a try, and that's nice to have that option. I haven't done a proper comparison yet, but the speakers on the 15 Pro Max sound really good to me. They're quite loud. I think they're louder compared to the 13 Pro. I think someone's done a comparison on that. I'm not going to go through that, but yeah, they sound good. Battery on the 15 Pro Max, it's pretty good so far. It's not as good as I was hoping, to be honest, but it's definitely a pretty big improvement over the 13 Pro. And let's see, I haven't looked for a while, but my battery health on the 13 Pro after 2-ish years or so, still at 90%. I haven't exactly babied this phone, especially lately. I've been kind of letting it drain until it's dead at the end of the day. So it's held up pretty well, I'd say. And this 13 Pro used to get me almost through the day, but I'd have to charge it quite often, always charge it in the car when I'm driving. I usually have it plugged in on my desk. So you kind of have to take your own work style into account when you're looking at batteries and what's going to be okay for you. If battery's a problem for you, then definitely consider moving up to the Pro Max. You'll get a bigger battery, the chip in here should help you out, and then the cellular radio in here should be much more efficient than what's in the older models, so that should also help out. But in summary, yeah, this will last me to the end of the day, and I stay up pretty late. I don't sleep very much, probably not nearly enough as I should, so this is doing overtime. But I'm also probably using it more often, watching videos on the side, especially because I got this nice case with the kickstand on it, and I'll do a review on this in a separate video or a short or something like that, so subscribe if you want to see that. This is a really nice case, I like it. Talking about the radio is improved a little bit, not as much as I was hoping, given what some people had mentioned, and I do have some more detailed stats on this. I was considering changing carriers, so I'll do another video on that too. That's a longer topic, but it does seem like data transfer speed is a little bit improved. Seems like signal reception is probably a little bit improved, but not as much as you might think. So if you're counting on that, especially where I live, it's real hilly here. We have terrain issues. Here in Seattle, signal doesn't always get where it needs to go. So if you're hoping that this solves your signal problems for you, well, it might, but it probably won't. I'm just saying. But you can always try. Okay, you've got a brighter display, especially in the outdoor mode. I haven't really tested this out that much yet. I have noticed that it seems brighter. I haven't experimented with if it's dimming or anything like that, faster or not. Probably the next time I try it, for real, will be when I go hiking and use the drone, because I still don't have the DJI remote with the built-in screen, which I need to get. If you are using your phone to fly your drone, then that will be a nice feature in bright outdoor conditions, because the screen will be that much brighter and easier to see. Okay, let's talk about the always-on display. I wasn't sure how I was going to like this originally. Thought I might not use it, so I'm kind of still experimenting with it. It's somewhat useful to have some widgets on the front screen and just be able to glance down, see notifications, even though notifications are just getting increasingly annoying for me, up to the point where I just want to turn everything off. Such a distraction when I'm trying to get work done, but that's another topic. But yeah, I thought I might not use it, but I found myself using it for things like timers is nice. Even though I have Apple Watch, still rocking the Apple Watch 6 here. I should make a long-term review video about that. So yeah, it's pretty nice to be able to look down, glance, and see the widgets like weather I have up here, even though I already have that functionality on the Apple Watch. So yeah, same information that I have here. Maybe I should put something else here to make it more useful, I don't know. But I'd say it's certainly a lot nicer than having to open the phone up, unlock it, and then scroll over to the other page here to look at all your widgets and get all your updates, so that's nice. But yeah, if I want to force the always-on display to turn off, then I just flip the phone upside down and it turns off and saves battery. So if you're concerned about battery draining because the always-on display is there, then just flip the phone down and it'll turn off. Or if you put it in your pocket, it'll turn off. Pick it back up, it's back on. You have satellite capability in the 15, and of course the 14 had that as well. You did not have that in the 13, so that's a nice addition if you're planning on going outdoors to your remote areas. Then that might give you some more added peace of mind in case it goes down and you need to call for help. Let's see, what else here? You've got the action button, of course, which I've assigned to go to the camera in video mode. I've found that I haven't been using this that much. It's just muscle memory. I'm trained to touch the screen and then touch the camera icon to open up the camera. So I think over time I just got to teach myself to use that instead, because it is faster. You don't have to think about it. It's just there, you hit it, camera opens. It's pretty good. You have Wi-Fi 6E on the 15 Pro versus Wi-Fi 6 on the 13 Pro. I don't know if that really matters to me, but what is nice is you've got Bluetooth 5.3 on the 15 Pro versus Bluetooth 5 on the 13 Pro. I'm always looking for more stable Bluetooth connections. I'm super annoyed when AirDrop doesn't want to connect or car doesn't want to connect real fast, so that's nice to have. Okay, my number one favorite thing about the 15 Pro, and this also applies to the 15 Pro Max, is the additional RAM in here. You now have 8 gigabytes of RAM for the first time. And to put that in perspective, on the regular 13s, you had 4 gigabytes of RAM. In the 13 Pro, you had 6. All of the 14s, standard and Pros, had 6 gigabytes of RAM. And the standard 15s have 6 gigabytes of RAM. But now in the 15 Pro and Pro Max only, you have 8 whole gigabytes of RAM. And this makes such a big difference. It doesn't sound like much, but it does. Apps stay open in the background like all day, over multiple days in fact. It used to be that I'd pause a YouTube video, go do some stuff, come back on the 13 here, YouTube would be closed, I'd forget where I was or what video I'm watching altogether. Here, everything just stays where you put it. And if you're someone like me who multitasks all the time, you're switching back and forth between apps, you're in Safari, you've read part of an article or something like that, you go do something else, come back, it will pick up where it was, it won't refresh the page, you won't lose your place. So this is really awesome. This is probably my favorite thing about this new phone, to be honest. And I think lastly, as far as performance goes, the 13 Pro was already fast. The 15 Pro is a lot faster. In real world experience, web pages especially load so much faster. So yeah, more performance is always good. I never had a complaint about performance on the 13 Pro for 99% of the time. It was perfectly fine. So overall, I think that the 15 Pro or Pro Max is a really nice upgrade over the 13 Pro or Pro Max. Even though the 13 Pro is still a really nice phone, there's nothing wrong with it. If you have it, you don't really feel the need to upgrade, then just keep it for another year. See what comes out next year. If you're looking for something new, you're looking for something a little bit different, then I'd say, yeah, definitely give the 15 Pro or Pro Max a shot. I think you'll really like it. But anyway, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you found this useful. If you did, consider giving the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have any questions about the two phones and how they compare, drop me a comment below and I'll do my best to answer it. I'm planning on releasing a lot more videos about iPhone case reviews and things like that in the very near future. So subscribe, be on the lookout for that, and I'll see you in the next one. It's a new tradition. How long do you have to do something before it becomes tradition? I don't really know. Finally drink this coffee now that I've recorded this whole video. Coffee's cold already. Tastes kind of like butterscotch, toffee. It's good. Good to see Bitcoin over 30,000 again. All you Bitcoin crypto haters out there. Not gonna make it. I am done showing this off. I am putting it back in its case where it belongs so I don't drop it.